Do you ever get those creepy YouTube comments on videos? You know, the ones that predict the future. Well, this terrifying tale comes from a certain person. It all started when I hit 1,000 subs. That's when the comments began. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting my room in hues of fading violet, I sat hunched over my laptop. The glow of the screen accentuated the fine lines etched on my face, a testament to countless nights spent chasing the elusive dream of internet stardom. As a small-time YouTuber for 2 years, I'd eked out a living showing my face on late-night gaming streams. My audience was a modest handful of viewers who occasionally tuned in to watch me fumble through a first-person shooter or share mundane details of my life. But now, on the cusp of hitting 1,000 subscribers, I felt a surge of confidence. Maybe my time was near, but my joy was short-lived. Tucked away in the corner of my laptop screen, almost lost in the labyrinth of comments beneath my latest vlog, was a message. It simply read, "At 7:13 p.m., you will drop something precious." Initially, I dismissed it as some random person trying to spook me. How many people do that on YouTube? Yet there it was in my notifications. At 7:13 p.m., you will drop something precious. I glanced at the pendant hanging from my laptop's USB port, an old locket containing my grandmother's picture. It was precious to me, sure, but I hadn't meant that comment literally. Nevertheless, I found myself holding my breath, fixated on the clock. At 7:13 p.m. sharp, the locket shattered on the floor, leaving my grandmother's smiling face staring up at me from the carpet, broken and forgotten. It wasn't until the next day that my brain made the connection. The comment hadn't been about my necklace, it had been about my grandmother, who had passed away at precisely 7:13 p.m., 7 years ago. Shaken but dismissive, I tried to focus on my work, blocking out the incident as just a bizarre coincidence, but then it happened again. Yesterday, I woke up to a comment on my latest upload. It was from a new account, a string of random letters and numbers for a name, and the message read, "You'll spill coffee at 3:07 p.m. I laughed it off. Commenters like these were on every second of every video, and their predictions were usually along the lines of "your cat will die" or "you will be struck by lightning." So why should I take this one any more seriously than the rest? Still, I found myself glancing at the clock, not really believing, but somehow hoping it would skip over the time without incident. And yet at exactly 3:07 p.m., I felt my mug slide out of my hand. I watched in slow motion as it arced through the air before crashing to the desk, sending hot ground splattering across my notes. I sat there for a moment, stunned, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. The bitter taste of coffee filled my mouth. This was no coincidence. When I checked the comment again, I noticed the author, at unknownviewer666, and I realized that I'd never seen this account before. I wondered who this person was and how they'd known exactly when I'd spill my coffee. But even as I typed out a reply asking them to reveal themselves, a new comment appeared under my last video. "Your chair will squeak 3 times at 9:22 tonight." Curiosity piqued. I decided to investigate, and sure enough, at 9:22 p.m., I heard a loud squeak as if someone had shifted in my chair, even though I was the only one in the room. Over the next few days, the comments kept coming. They predicted everything from a minor fender bender to a spilled glass of water, and every single one was right. Then things took a darker turn. One afternoon I received a message that read, "You'll drop something heavy tomorrow, 11:09 a.m. Now, I love my cat dearly, but she can be clumsy sometimes. As I dashed out the door that morning, I couldn't help but glance at the clock. It was 11:08 a.m. With 1 more minute to spare, I raced to the front door and let myself out, my heart pounding in my chest. And as soon as I closed the door behind me, I heard the unmistakable sound of shattering glass. Rushed back inside, I found my cat sitting innocently amidst a pool of shards. An aquarium lay on the floor, drained of water, with my fish floating lifelessly on top. Grief and frustration washed over me. I scooped the tiny corpses out of the wreckage and buried them in the backyard, but underneath that pain, fear wormed its way in. Was this just a coincidence, or was I dealing with something sinister? By Thursday, the comments were in caps lock, "You'll have an accident this Friday." I didn't know what it meant. I asked, "What accident?" But the reply came back vague, "A car crash, 3:33 p.m. My heart pounded. The date circled on my calendar. I hoped it was just a joke, but the premonition hung heavy in my mind. Friday arrived. I knew I shouldn't let it ruin my day, but I couldn't shake the premonition that something terrible was going to happen. The clock ticked closer to 3:33 p.m. My fingers twitched as I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. I told myself it was nonsense. It had to be. I focused on my driving, willing the clock to pass the fateful time. But as the minutes marched on, my apprehension grew. Suddenly, a flash of red brake lights flared in my rearview mirror. I slammed on the accelerator, swerved onto the shoulder. My tires screeched against the asphalt, kicking up a spray of gravel. Glancing back, I saw a cloud of dust where my sedan had been. Shaky and shaken, I pulled over to the side of the road. My heart hammered against my ribs, the echo of my screeching tires ringing in my ears. It took a long moment before I could bring my shaking hands to the wheel. My channel had become a Pandora's box of chaos, each comment pulling me deeper into its abyss. Was I losing my mind? Or was I being hunted by an unseen force? What was happening to me? Why was this happening to me? Why all these questions echoed inside my head? Determined to get to the bottom of this, I scoured the channel's analytics, searching for clues, but it was like chasing shadows. No IP addresses, no email on file. Just a user who'd subscribed exactly 1 year ago on the anniversary of my first upload. I searched everywhere for answers, but it was like the commenter vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. But it didn't end there. As if sensing my fear, the comments intensified. At 11:59 p.m., "You will knock yourself unconscious." I stood frozen by the monitor, watching the seconds tick by. I knew my safety was at risk, but I couldn't tear my gaze away. Would I survive? The question hung in the air. Just as the clock struck midnight, I reached for a soda can, but my hand slipped. The glass hit the floor, sending shards flying. I recoiled, pressing my palm against the cut, wincing as blood welled up between my fingers. I desperately tried to stem the flow, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. But it was only a paper cut, a mere scratch, nothing more. However, the fear that gripped me was anything but minor. Now, every video I uploaded was met with fresh prophecies, each video bringing me closer to the edge of a terrifying abyss. It was like a game of Russian roulette with fate itself, a twisted gamble where the stakes were my life. The comments became my jailer, controlling my every move, dictating my survival. I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. The pressure was immense. I questioned everything I did, every action, every breath. Fear was my constant companion. Then came the ultimatum: stop uploading or die. I didn't know what to do. Should I heed the warning and abandon my channel, or risk whatever horrors lay ahead? But I continued posting. I had to. It wasn't just about the predictions anymore. It was about proving that I wasn't going crazy. I uploaded another video yesterday, my hands shaking uncontrollably as I clicked the publish button. Then everything went wrong. And as I sit here waiting for the next shoe to drop, I can't help but wonder, will this endless cycle ever end? Or am I destined to live out the remainder of my life enslaved by the whims of a faceless commenter? The question hangs in the air, unanswered, leaving me suspended between hope and despair. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, please consider subscribing. Your support means the world to me. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.